I went into this restaurant for breakfast, and there sat Jim Rohn. And we reconnected, sat down, and he invited me to join him in business.
So welcome, Jim. Thank you so much for coming on with the Success Mindset today. How are you?
Good, good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, I think it's a bit sunnier over there where you are than it is over here.
Yeah, well, it's nice here in Northern California today. So yeah, I understand it's a little cold over there.
It is. It's freezing, but it's all good. It's all good. And, we're so excited to have you here on the channel today. So thank you for joining us.
Sure.
So just to give all of our viewers a bit of background about you, Jim. So Jim Britt is the author of numerous best-selling books and programs. His books include Rings of Truth, Do This, Get Rich for Entrepreneurs, Unleashing Your Authentic Power, The Power of Letting Go, and Cracking the Rich Code. Jim was named as one of the world's top 20 success coaches and top 50 speakers worldwide, and presented with the Best of the Best award out of the top 100 contributors of all time to the direct selling industry. Jim is a world-leading expert in peak performance, entrepreneurship, and personal empowerment to produce extraordinary performance. Jim was business partners with the great Jim Rohn, and Tony Robbins worked under Jim's mentorship for the first few years in his seminar business. Jim's live seminars alone have seen him reach over 1.5 million people across the world. That's quite a resume, Jim.
Yeah, oh, thank you. Well, I've been around a long time.
So, like I say, it's so great you come in today, and we're going to look at some parts of your life. So what we're going to do is film this today, and we'll split this over a number of videos, but we're going to look over, your life. I'm going to ask you a sets of questions. And we'll move right through up to all of your books and stuff like that. So, I'm keen to explore your background, Jim, and I was just wondering if you could tell us about your sort of childhood and upbringing and what that was like.
Yeah, well, starting from the beginning, I was 10 pounds, 6 ounces. No, actually, we grew up pretty poor. I couldn't say that we lived in poverty, but we were very poor. And my first job was picking cotton at age 6, and the whole family picked cotton. I did that for 6 years until I was 12, and we got paid 2 cents a pound. And cotton doesn't weigh very much. A pound of cotton is a lot of cotton. So it's like air almost. So it was hard work. And I think what I learned from that is simply working hard doesn't get you ahead in life. You got to work smarter than that. And of course I was young, but I didn't really like it, but I did it, and I learned a good work ethic from it. And then my next job, I mowed lawns and did yard work for people while I was 12 to about 17 years old, off and on, and mostly in the summertime. And then got my first, I'd say, real job pumping gas. And I was making $1 an hour, working 60 hours a week with no overtime, and worked there for a couple of years. And, I didn't know but what I would stay there. Because I dropped out of high school in the 10th grade. I'm married, I got a child, and, I'm about 19, 20 years old at that time. And my dream job was actually working down the street in the factory on the assembly line, because I heard that they paid $1.67 an hour. Well, I didn't realize they didn't let you work 60 hours a week. You could only work 40. But the problem was that I didn't have a high school diploma, and you needed one to go to work there. So I tried the equivalency to pass that. I flunked it twice. And so I never got my high school. And one day a fella came into the gas station, and he'd been in many times. I didn't know what he did, but we got in a conversation. Turns out he was a supervisor at this factory. And long story short, he got me on. I went in, took some testing, I passed the test. And so I went to work in the factory, worked there for a few years. And again, I thought I might be there the rest of my life, but but I didn't know anything else. I didn't know of anything else I could do. I had no money, no business background, no education, and I just felt kind of stuck. I didn't like what I was doing, but I was the best at what I was doing because they always rated you. We wired telephone switchboards, and they would, they give you this amount of job to do and a certain amount of time to do it. And if you ran under 100% efficiency, your job was in question. If you went below 85%, you could get fired. Um, and if you went above 100%, you got a little tiny bonus, which was amounted to maybe 10 cents an hour more. And there were 9,000 employees, and I was number one after 6 months out of 9,000 employees. I was doing the work of 4.57 people. So my efficiency was 457%. I still just got about 10 cents an hour more. So I thought, that's just not fair. I'm doing more than anybody else, and I'm still earning the same. So again, I learned that working hard wasn't going to get me ahead. I had to get smarter, but I didn't know what I could do. So what happened one night, I was working the late shift, and a fella came by my area that I'd spoken to a couple of times. And he stopped and he goes, "Hey, Britt," he said, "you're going to work in this factory the rest of your life?" And I'm going, "Man, I don't know, maybe." And he said, "Come go to this meeting with me." He said, "I think it's something we could do to make some extra money." And I said, "Well, what meeting is that? What is it?" And he said, "I don't know." He said, "They just told me to come and bring somebody with me." And I said, "Well, I'm not your guy. I'm not going." And he said, "I'll tell you what, if you go with me, I'll buy the beer afterwards." I said, "Well, what time is that meeting?" So I went for the beer, not for the meeting. But little did I know my life was about to change. And I sat through that meeting that night and for about an hour, and the second speaker got up and started talking about the money you could make, and it just lit me on fire. And I saw an opportunity to break out of what I was in, an opportunity to get ahead financially. So I decided that night that I was going to get wealthy in that business. Big problem. I had $9 in the bank, and that would be gone within a couple of days when I got paid. And it cost $4,000 to get started. Now that was a lot of years ago, and $4,000, that'd be like putting in 400,000 today, and I didn't have it. I didn't know anybody that had that much money. So I went out and I started at my bank where I had my $9 on deposit, and I tried to get a loan, and they turned me down. I ended up going to 23 banks and loan companies before I found a loan company that would loan me the money. I got started. My first year, I lost everything I owned. My home was foreclosed, had a notice on the door from the sheriff saying you got to be out in 5 days. And both of my vehicles had been repoed. My furniture had been repoed. I had a wife and a child and 15 cents in my pocket. And the one thing I knew I wasn't going to do was give up. And I don't know what happened in a 5-day period, but it was almost like a series of miracles took place. And I think it was because I didn't give up. One of the miracles was somebody knocked on my door that was from the company that I was working with. And he said, "I understand you're a hard worker, but you're not making any money." He said, "Let's talk." And I'd never even met the man. And he came in and we sat in my floor because I had no furniture. And we talked for 2 hours, and he showed me what I was doing wrong and what I needed to be doing. And my business took off like a rocket, to the point that between that business and another business I started several months later as a result of the money I was earning in the first business, at the end of my second year out of the factory, I had earned my first $1 million. So that, and what happened during that, people ask me, how'd you get in the speaking field? Jim Rohn was a trainer in that company. Jim was an unknown. Nobody knew who he was. He just did training for that company, and that was it. But we became very close friends back then. And then the company dissolved after a couple of years, and everybody kind of went their own way. Jim moved, I moved, we changed phone numbers. Nobody knew how to reach each other. We didn't have social media or anything like that. And by chance, I walked into a restaurant in Phoenix, Arizona. I was over visiting, looking at property. And I went into this restaurant for breakfast, and there sat Jim Rohn. And we reconnected, sat down, and he invited me to join him in business. So we ended up with a partnership, and I started promoting him, and that phased into me speaking more and more. And I hired Tony and trained him for about his first 4 years in the business, and about 300 other salespeople that we had working for us as well. But that's how I got in the speaking business. It wasn't anything I planned. It just evolved, which is kind of the way I live my life today. You know, I don't plan a lot of things. People say, where are you going to be in 5 years? And I go, I have no idea. None. Well, how about next year? What are you going to accomplish next year? I don't know. I'll let you know at the end of that year. I just know that I'm always putting my best foot forward, and I always do the best that I know how to do at any given moment. And that's how you get ahead in life. You know, to me, it's not about the plan. It's how you execute.